Today we're going to be talking about the benefits for the farm with cleaner, healthier water from your dugout. So this is just going to be a really quick presentation. We're going to dive into it right now. So like I said, we're going to get into it right now. So one of the main benefits is that livestock will drink more. And that doesn't really matter on what kind of livestock, but in this example, we're going to be talking about cows and calves in specific. So in 2002, there was a study that showed that calves that were drinking from dams that had access to clean water, where they weren't drinking it directly from the pond, it had aeration, all these other things, showed a 9% increase in weight gain as well as in back fat. So that's just an all around really good benefit. Whereas cows that were drinking from dams that had access just directly into the pond wasn't really being well taken care of, didn't show that same increase. And there's been many other studies showing that having these increases does occur when we have clean water. So in turn with that, it's also going to improve your herd health. So just like with people, if your livestock or anything are going to be drinking clean water, it's going to increase weight gain, flush out toxins, reducing your medical bills in turn, and as well as just creating a much more healthier herd overall. If you're into dairy cows or dairy production, having that increased water consumption because they're just more inclined to drink cleaner water will increase your milk production. So definitely a huge benefit there. Um, and then away from the livestock side of things, a lot of farmers that we deal with use their water for irrigation or filling up stock tanks. So it's a lot easier on the pumps if you have LJ or if you maybe if you experience this with aquatic weeds, duckweed, that sort of thing. Getting clogged in your pumps, a lot of headaches, as well as the water that's coming into the stock tank is already rich in beneficial bacteria, those things that are going to help reduce your LJ. So, um, one of the main things is if you have cleaner, healthier water, then you can fill up your stock tanks. And not that LJ won't eventually form if it's sitting in there, but it's going to do a lot better and just make for a lot less headaches. So one of the number one things that I always recommend, if you have livestock that have access to your pond, is you're going to want to fence around it. Often you do see people, they allow their livestock to go in, they're going to wade in until they're about chest high or whatever, and they'll drink. And what they're doing at that point is there's going to be a lot of organic matter, also known as muck, in the bottom of the pond. And once the animal, whatever it is, goes in there, they're going to be stirring that up, re-releasing it into the water body. And that's chock full of phosphorus, ammonium, nitrates, all kinds of things that are going to lead to LJ blooms, which can be potentially harmful and even fatal in certain instances. If you have blue-green LJ, it's full of cyanobacteria, which contains toxins, which in high enough doses has been known to not only kill like small animals, but even large animals such as cows and even humans if they were to consume it. So it's definitely not a good thing. But the best way to do that is just fence it off and have like an irrigation system or a pump system to provide fresh water from the pond to whatever kind of area that you want. And then you'll have a lot less headaches and it's going to be a lot easier to keep your pond clean if you don't allow the cows access into the pond directly. So the next thing that we always recommend is aeration. Aeration is number one in trying to treat this water. So aeration increases the dissolved oxygen, which there's been studies shown that increased dissolved oxygen leads to more consumption of water, which then leads to more weight gain. And there's also many other benefits to aeration, but in particular when it comes to livestock, aeration is definitely key for that. As well as aeration is going to get those bacteria that are in the pond working a lot faster. It's going to help reduce phosphorus and just keep an overall clean and healthier system. So in this particular example, you can see on the right. It's a pretty severe algae bloom in this dugout. Uh, we actually went in. This is one of our own clients that we have taken care of. We went in, and within 2 weeks we were able to clean her up. So we added some aeration systems in there, as well as we did some of the other treatments that I talked about. And these systems are relatively cost effective. They're low voltage, or not low voltage, but they're 120 volt or 220 volt systems that are very energy efficient. You can put as many plates as you want. Normally, we'll help you with that process to determine how much aeration you need to counter effect your problems that are in the pond. But they're relatively cheap. There is a lot of people that try and do DIY, but the problem with DIY is the electricity bill is going to go up through the roof, and they're just not efficient. They are It's not as simple as just poking holes and blowing water up. There's specific scientific engineered designs within these plates that allow for the aeration to be increasing that dissolved oxygen through different kind of chemical processes. So basically, they're very designed as such to increase dissolved oxygen through their chemical processes rather than just blowing air and moving things up through the water column. So the next treatment that we always recommend is beneficial bacteria. So I previously mentioned it in aeration, on the aeration slide, that there is beneficial bacteria that are already in the pond, whereas you can also give an extra little boost in that. And what this is going to do is it's going to consume those nutrients in the water body, such as your ammonia, nitrates, you name it, kind of thing. And those are what will feed that algae as well as other problems in the pond. So by putting in these beneficial bacteria, which come in water-soluble packs, as seen on the right, as well as on the left, they are both great products. One is a little bit stronger than the other, which is the Lake Clarifier, which is our own brand of bacteria, but both work equally as well depending on the size of your pond. But what they'll do is they'll help reduce those nutrients and in turn prevent and reduce your frequency of algae blooms where you don't really have a problem with that at all. So definitely one of the main things that we recommend is beneficial bacteria, which when paired with aeration, it's going to just go to work and work super, super well because this is all aerobic bacteria, meaning that it requires oxygen to work. So having increased dissolved oxygen in the water body is key for this. Um, as well, when you pair it with another product that we always recommend is EcoBoost. So EcoBoost is not a beneficial bacteria, but it is organic matter that just provides extra nutrients, as well as basically it's providing fuel for your beneficial bacteria as shown on the left and right here. So EcoBoost is really good for that. And that it's just going to help stimulate that bacteria so it works even harder, as well as EcoBoost contains phosphorus binders. So phosphorus is the number one thing that is going to lead to algae blooms. So using this, we've had clients that use the beneficial bacteria, but they still get a little bit of algae. Once they start using EcoBoost, then the problem kind of just disappears. We also use this on our own maintenance contracts that we provide services for, and it just works phenomenal. Then we have your muck or organic matter. So like I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, this is, as you can see, it's just kind of that gooey stuff. It might look like mud, but what it is organic matter that's just chock full of nutrients. So one of the things that you can do to reduce your muck organic matter is using another product, which is another beneficial bacteria, which we have is Muckaway or Muck Eliminator, as shown here in the two pictures, and they work phenomenal in reducing the muck. What they are is a sinking pellet. They sink down and they work where they land essentially. So this also works really, really well with aeration as well because they're aerobic bacteria, but it can consume up to 6 inches in a single season, sometimes more if the conditions are more optimal. But it's really important that you want to get rid of that muck, which is just going to cause a lot less problems, such as reducing organic weeds, reducing those nutrients that are available, as well as it can deepen your pond. There's a lot of ponds that we do assessments on that have over 4 feet of organic matter, and after 4 or 5 years of treatment, we've been able to reduce that quite significantly to the point where we don't really have that problem anymore, and it's just a matter of maintenance with that. So it's definitely something that we recommend to be considered. I'll also mention too, aeration will actually help reduce muck as well, just on its own. Anywhere where the plates are, it essentially will just disturb that and blow it away. Which we do have other products for specific for muck, where we have oscillators that will blow the muck out of the bottom, and as well as we have like manual things for that, but they're also labor intensive, whereas this, you just put it in every 2 weeks, you'll go to work and reduce the muck in the pond. And then finally, the last product that we always recommend is dye. So dye would be your kind of third tier option when it comes to tackling these problems. And essentially what pond dye does is not just for looks, but it also acts as kind of a UV or sunglasses for your pond. So if you have a lot of aquatic weeds and that kind of thing, then you can put this dye in and it'll essentially just shade and reduce the chances of the growth. You'll still have light penetration along the edges, so you'll still have some weed growth along the edges, but as the pond gets deeper, you'll get rid of those deeper weeds, and then in turn, using the other products such as muck away and the other beneficial bacteria, you'll eventually just reduce how many aquatic weeds are growing in that pond and creating just a nice clean ecosystem, which then in turn will help benefit you on the farm as well. So I should mention as well, all these products that I have mentioned are zero chemicals. They're 100% safe. They've been FDA approved, and they work. So there's going to be no harm to the animals for drinking it. And they work really, really well. So with that, we'll leave it there. It's just a quick little presentation. We'll be posting this up on YouTube later on as well. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know. You can visit us at www.cleanwaterpro.ca or www.pondsupply.ca, where we have water quality experts that will be able to help you answer any questions that you might have on designing a system. If you want to kind of go ahead and install yourself, or if you have questions, you have no idea what's going on with your pond, our scientists in staff are able to go out, and we do assessments as well. So we'll go out, we can do water samples, we'll come up with a whole report telling you exactly what's going on, create a treatment plan, or offer a maintenance program where we can go in and we can treat it and make sure that the pond will stay nice and clean for yourselves as well. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much for all attending today. And if you have any questions, I'll be on for a little bit longer, but if not, hope you have a great rest of your day and that you get some cleaner water in the future.